Have you ever felt like you were walking onto a movie set? Well, that was this for me, but it wasn't a movie, it was real life. This is Qatar's Integrated Operations Centre. It's their inner core. It's the beating heart at the centre of their global operations. It is absolutely incredible. 200,000 flights per year, 30 million passengers a year, and it is all controlled out of this one room by this one team. You've got to come and see it. So join me as we enter the inner core and I show you how it all works. Let's go. It's not just the aircraft flying today that this centre manages. The IOC is responsible for every flight from 45 days before departure through to the moment it arrives at the gate and gets prepped for its next flight. To say this is a complex operation is an understatement. The very first thing you notice standing here overlooking the operations centre are the giant video screens. Not only do they complete the Hollywood look, they also provide vital information to the people below. Front and centre is an active map showing the exact location of every active Qatar aircraft around the world. Those red zones are the no-fly zones, and if any aircraft strays into them by even a metre, alarm bells start ringing. Next to this is a map of Hamad International Airport, again showing all active aircraft, and above this is a live news feed. Top centre is a summary of today's flight operations. This is split between those originating in Doha and those originating in outstations. This is further split between passenger and cargo flights. The board shows how many flights have already departed, how many there are to go, and that day's on-time performance. The entire left-hand side of the video screens is dedicated to the technical data coming straight from the aircraft. This information is used by the Maintenance Control Centre team and the engineers in this room providing frontline support for active flight crews. Showing me around and explaining how it all works was Luis Pedro, Manager, Business Improvement and Disruption.
Up here we have the flight dispatch, the team that is preparing the flight documentation that the pilots are printing downstairs.
Yes.
Is being printed by this.
Wow.
1 hour before the flight starts,
yes,
it's handed over to the flight watch. If anything happens, imagine that we're having a delay, and because of the delay, an airspace is closed for some reason. We need new fuel calculations, new route is going to be handled by them.
Qatar's entire operation is run on a proprietary in-house system called TOPS, which has every flight and every movement preloaded. If everything runs to plan, minimal human input is required. However, if anything deviates from the plan, the system kicks into action with a series of alerts and advanced notifications. Network Manager Paul explained to me how the disruption of an aircraft breakdown in Athens is minimised.
And it's going to be out for a while, so pre-ops will be clearing these flights here later on in the week out of our window, so we don't have to do it at a later stage. So that's where they come into it a bit. In any other airline where you work in ops, you would be doing this, looking for gaps, looking for way to change it, scrolling them down the Gantt board.
Yes.
This system, TOPS, what we use is a managed by exception rule, and what we've built into it is alerts. So for example, if we had the delays showing, you can change the aircraft. Take my previous company, EasyJet, you would change the aircraft around and you'd have to do this. And it would just be done by looking at it. With this, we have alerts. This tells us that we don't have enough ground time before the next flight.
Right.
So the controllers will see that alert and they will make a plan and they will avoid that delay as much as possible. So it saves them from, this action of changing and looking for a problem. The problem comes to them straight away.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's an excellent system.
Now let's have a look at the key roles and functions of the teams working here. The core IOC departments are pre-ops, network control and flight watch. These are the departments that manage flight preparations and operations. However, as you'd imagine, they can't do it alone, and working with them within the IOC are representatives of every other stakeholder department. How they all work together is the key to the IOC's incredible efficiency. First, let's look at the layout and then stick around as I show you what happens when a flight needs to make an emergency diversion. The layout of the IOC itself is designed so that decisions can be made by the right people as quickly as possible. In the very centre of the room, at the head of an oval table, is the IOC Senior Manager, the person in overall charge of Qatar's entire operation at the time. The inner circle is made up of the duty managers of the IOC departments and stakeholders. Whenever the need arises, the managers simply turn around to meet and decide the best course of action. Those managers then feed these decisions direct to their teams who are sitting in front of them to action with their respective departments. The impact of a diversion can be huge, so let's use the example of my flight from Sydney to Doha, which diverted to Mumbai due to a medical emergency as an example of how this team works together to manage the situation. First, the crew asked if there was a doctor on board. The crew have basic medical training and they also have access to expert medical phone support. In this instance, a passenger had a suspected stroke and required urgent medical treatment in hospital, so the decision was made to divert to Mumbai. Here at the IOC, the flight watch team will have received an alert from the aircraft systems that the flight's destination had changed. The pilot has a final say as to which airport to divert to, but he or she can consult with the IOC maintenance and engineering team regarding which airport is going to have the most suitable facilities available. Once a decision is made to divert to Mumbai, the IOC engineers will advise their contacts in Mumbai that an A380 is inbound and will require fuel and the necessary pre-departure engineering checks. Next, network control and crewing will look at crew hours, because once the maximum hours are reached, the crew cannot legally operate the aircraft. Will replacement crew be required? And if so, how will they reach Mumbai? Will customer support be required to find hotels in Mumbai for 450 passengers? My flight was able to continue, but we arrived into Doha 3.5 hours late. This would have meant many passengers missing their onward connections. While we were in the air, the customer support team was already working on solutions. Some passengers will be put on later flights, some onward flights may be delayed by 10 or 20 minutes to enable the Sydney passengers to make their connections. The hub team helps coordinate staff to meet and assist passengers on arrival. But what if the connection is missed and there's not another flight until the next day? In this instance, customer support will need to source hotels in Doha along with transportation. Meanwhile, the cargo manager will be concerned about the cargo on board and where it needs to go. Is it time or temperature sensitive? Will the cargo miss its onward connection? Does the diversion port have adequate facilities if the aircraft remains grounded? Network control will also be looking at which flight that aircraft was scheduled to fly next. Is this still possible? And will it require a faster turnaround than normal? If so, catering and ground services will need to be prepared and provide extra staff. If not, what alternative aircraft are available? If onward flights are delayed or subject to an aircraft change, this will impact both cargo and catering, and they will need to make changes. If the aircraft change is to a different type of aircraft, for example a 777 rather than an A380, this will require a different crew. Again, crewing will need to be involved. Meanwhile, commercial and corporate communications and other key managers will have been sent a notification advising them of the diversion and the reason for it. This will enable them to answer questions from local media, such as why an A380 is suddenly landing in Mumbai. And finally, post-event, Lewis and his team analyse everything to ensure that all standard operating procedures were followed and that any potential improvements are documented and fed into the system. All of this is the bread and butter work of the team at the IOC. It's their job to ensure that disruptions are minimised and handled as efficiently as possible to ensure the safety and comfort of the passengers and crew. They do it 24 hours a day, every day, without fuss or drama. It's incredible how quiet this room was, considering how huge their job is. But what happens if there's a major incident? Well, that's where this boardroom comes in. The Major Incident Operational Response Team will meet here, whilst the IOC below continues to manage general operations. As expected, this room is fitted with all the technical bells and whistles. Here Lewis is showing me the very high-tech phone they have that allows them to speak to any aircraft without delay or disruption, as well as the managers of all operational departments at the push of a button. This glimpse behind the scenes into the very inner sanctum of Qatar's operation has been absolutely fascinating. I'm so thankful for the opportunity. It's given me a much better understanding and appreciation of just how complex running a large international airline is, and just how many incredible people work behind the scenes to make it happen. Whenever I'm on board a Qatar flight, I'll think of Lewis, Paul and all of the others sitting in this room, looking over us and making sure that we get to our destination safely. So on behalf of all the passengers, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of the people working behind the scenes, not just at Qatar Airways but throughout the aviation industry. You're the unsung heroes that help make the magic of aviation happen. So grateful for the opportunity, so thank you to Qatar Airways. Thank you to you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. There's a lot more on the way, including some really cool behind the scenes stuff as well, and my normal trip reports too. Look, thanks again for watching, and as always, happy travels.